sun on the field, the feeling I feel when I'm living my life for what's real. Make America healthy, feeling like it's time for change. We're going back to common sense, making America healthy again. We're going back to common sense, making America healthy again. We're going back up healthy again.
Boom. Oh, welcome everybody to the new and improved Club Maha podcast. This is episode number 10, double digits with the boys. Dude, the intro.
Dude, the intro gets healthier every time, bro. It's so good.
Kyle stretching has to be the funniest shit I've seen.
See my legs? It looks like I've been skiing for a month.
That good papaya stretch, baby.
I also appreciate that they decided to keep it to reality and make me fat.
Dude.
Power
Kept
to
the
us.
beard on point. Although they didn't bring the cigarette in. We got to get AI to give you a cigarette in one of those shots.
So my recommendation when they showed it to me, I was like, oh, dude, this is amazing. It's like, listen, I need a cigarette, but instead, like when I exhale, I want it to be like unicorn farts and like rainbow butterflies. Like,
Oh man, dude, AI is crazy.
Crazy. So
big shout out to what's his name with Tupa.
Shout out to Chupacabra for help with that.
Cabra.
Dude, if you guys don't know,
if you don't follow Chupacabra already, he's a wizard on X.
Dude, Chupacabra, if you want anything UFO, UAP related, my dude is dialed. Also, like hemp farmer extraordinaire, like an absolute legend. We have a great show. We're going to be talking beef tallow. I personally took one for the team and went to Steak and Shake. And
I saw your photo, dude. How was it?
Dude, it was fantastic. I don't know why I haven't been eating there before, but the ribbony fries, like fried in the beef tallow. I was like, oh, it's just so good. I felt like so healthy, even though.
Wait, Dustin, I thought you were gonna be hating on beef tallow tonight. I thought you were our contrarian tonight. What are you doing here?
Okay, well, listen, I gotta be real. I gotta keep it real, which is the Steak and Shake. The food was delicious, and even with my contrarian views, thank you, Dr. Angela, for wrecking like my dream that I was being healthy while gorging on fried foods and hamburgers. Like, right? Like, oh man!
What's your take? Is that it's just like not healthy because it's still a whole bunch of fats and oils and fried potatoes?
So essentially, and we could get into this as we start talking about it, but the issue is that we actually have a bile problem, and that's largely caused by the shot and COVID, apparently. So like us purebloods are not completely immune, even though, right? Like you have to quarantine yourself from all the other like vaccines.
I don't touch the muggles. I don't even interact with
really. So you're good.
Getting vaccinated people. I still love you.
We can still process fat, but apparently there's a spike in gallstones and gallbladder issues as a result of people's inability to process fat. And beef tallow does not fix that problem, although it remains superior to seed oils.
Heard that.
There we go.
Sounds like someone we should have on at some point to chat.
Dr. Angela's amazing.
Dr. Angela would be great to have on. And we also, at the top of the hour too, we have Graham from Tallow Grill coming on to talk. And so really excited for that. So I think we'll save a lot of, the deep dive into tallow there, but we've got Jessica Reed Krause coming on very shortly as well. And
we're going to expose the Epstein files, baby.
She has the binder, so she will be bringing the binder on. And
just got sick of waiting for Pam, so we're just going to break it wide open.
Dude, the video, by the way, Ian, your work today.
What work today?
When did you put out the Hey, Pam.
I stayed the fuck off the internet today so hard.
So it must have been yesterday. I saw the video today of you going to the actual like FBI vault that Julie Brown, who deserves a mile of credit for her incredible work at the Miami Herald, breaking the Epstein stuff. Like right after journalist got bullied, she refused, and like she's a hero in my opinion. Like absolutely, right? But you go to her link and you're like, "Hey Pam, like I know that you say that you can't find anything, but how about this page or maybe this page or."
There's thousands of documents already in the public FBI vaults online in the FBI's own files that are all redacted.
Right. Well, there you go. And to be honest, that's the kind of thing that I think advances the conversation. So I've been on like this weird kick all week where I'm frustrated with like simpleton takes.
Yeah. Amen.
On Israel, on Thomas Massey. Like you will find no one else who is as angry at continuing resolutions and omnibus spending as I am. Like from my time in the Tea Party, like I could tell you the last time we passed a regular budget was like 13 years ago. And there's always an excuse to kick the can down the road. But I feel like what we're constantly, and on Israel, this is another one, or the technocraties, right? The problem is I see people who are like, okay, we'll just make this really simple. And everybody who is pro-Israel is bad on every issue and can't be trusted. I'm like, bro, I get that, but Bobby Kennedy can still do incredible work at HHS, right? Brooke Rollins can be both simultaneously wrong on one issue and then be doing incredible work on another issue. And I think we lose some of that nuance. And another example, I went through one of Derek Brose's videos today on Peter Thiel and Palantir, who I'm happy to talk about. I went hard against JD Vance when he ran for the Senate in Ohio because of those ties specifically. And but lumping in together like the PayPal mafia and acting like Elon Musk is the same as David Sachs, is the same as Reid Hoffman, is like completely ignoring that there are these incredibly distinct factions like that believe very different things about how tech and freedom and authoritarianism can play. And like we don't have the choice of being like, you know what, like I would love to be like kind of like Mennonite light. Like I just I will swear off all technology except like shit coining. And right, like let me trade Bitcoin and some shit coins and then like swear off everything else. Like I kind of like want the
water wheel, raw eggs, shit coins.
But we need to figure out, and this is why I think, right, healthy discussion needs to be around the nuance of some of this stuff. Because guess what? The difference between somebody who wants to use these tools to big brother surveil every transaction that all of us make is dramatically different than somebody who wants to use this technology to big brother surveil and make public everything that the government spends money on. And we can't put Pandora back in the box. And so we need to have these discussions with some nuance instead of just being like, this person sucks and that person's. And so I really want to make an effort to try to advance these discussions nearly everywhere we can.
To make American dialogue healthy again. Like we're adults. We don't need to be having 9th grade level discussions. And I agree because I am guilty of contributing to that at times too. And I was looking at the internet. The reason why I took the day off the internet today was because I was am seeing so much negativity in so many directions. And most of it is friends fighting friends over takes that are just simpleton disagreements over like, it has to be extremely all one way here. And if you don't agree with me on this whole thing, then you're an enemy. And everyone is throwing those things at everyone in the space these days for the last like week or 3 or 4. And it like really since the election. And it's like, and it's so easy to slip into. And I'm just like, I was like, I need to take a step back and figure out how do we promote more positivity and more productive, complex discussion that actually like addresses nuance and and actually respects people through those discussions instead of trying to like turn everyone into an enemy, right?
Yeah, and so I've tried to focus on that the last week. I also started my garden this week.
Let's go, dude. Victory.
So I will say, everybody I talk to has been like, bro, gardening in Florida. Good luck. Like,
Yep.
why do I have to play everything on hard mode? So
Dude, you could grow some cocaine. I mean, what does grow in Florida?
yeah, no, good stuff.
We're not on YouTube, are we?
All sorts of stuff grows in Florida. Florida's a good state for growing. It's just the soils challenge.
So I you know what I did? I started with like herbs that are pretty hardy and stable. So start there. Some carrots and some sunflowers and other good stuff. So I'm excited about the garden. So I'm excited to see everybody else. I've seen lots of other people take the challenge up to start the gardens. Right. I want to see what you guys are growing. I'm really excited about that more broadly. And then, bro, so I didn't get a chance to I'm gonna ambush Ian. Sorry.
Bring it. Let's go, dude.
This is hard clout farming right here. But I saw you started to dip the toe in one of the subjects that is one of my insane level wheelhouses, which is the Las Vegas shooting. So the after Elon bought X, I started to do spaces. The first mega space I put together was on the Las Vegas shooting. Nice. And so John Cullen, in my opinion, is probably the closest to what actually happened. I went on his podcast. I'm also friends with Laura Loomer and Mindy Robinson and Matt Couch, and we had dozens of people who were on the ground. Did you guys know that Grant Cardone actually had the suite on the floor right underneath Stephen Paddock and was there at the shoot? Dude, his story is freaking mind-blowing. So, Ian, I want to put another space together, right? Like a blockbuster. Maybe it'll be the first Club Maha.
Let's just get John Cullen and Mindy Robinson on stage together, and then we all sign out and leave them there and let them fight.
Dude, it would be ugly. Be ugly.
I'm just kidding.
But right. And listen, what I love about John is he admits to it. He is right. Sometimes he's a little abrasive when it comes to, battling.
He's fucking on it.
But my girl Mindy too is one of the most fearless truth tellers I know anywhere, and the work she's put in against Lombardo and on a bunch of other issues. Right. And to be honest, I'm really close friends with Mindy.
She's cool. She doesn't give no shits.
Literally, and she is absolutely fearless in a way that I love. But I think maybe for that first big Club Maha space, I know so many of the survivors, the people on the ground, the security guards, the Ellen DeGeneres angle, and I'm so deep, I could go straight Jared Kushner, MBS, Day of the Long Sword.
That's the interesting part, I think, dude. Because that's the part that's playing out in our global geopolitics right now is the Saudi connections between the Trump administration that may have been formed on that night.
Yeah, no, Jamal Khashoggi is tied into it's crazy. Yeah. And we have, so one of the things we're dealing with gets to forest management, these odd fires that we have in places that they pre-announce that they want to have smart cities. Weird. Right?
And then the police chiefs get named in Diddy lawsuits. That's a whole other rabbit hole.
So Peltier, I don't know if I'm saying Peltier, whatever the fuck his name is. Right? It's weird how in these critical positions of investigation, the same bad guys show up in Las Vegas and Maui and Palisades and Long Island now in ways that are very not good. And the Diddy stuff is starting to it's starting to percolate out a little bit. So I don't know, man. I remain hopeful, although it's hard. It's hard right now. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of like negativity swirling, and there's a lot of things to be disappointed about, but it's important to stay hyped. Like it's important to like, it gets to all of us sometimes. I took my day off today. Sometimes you have to like go grow your garden, go for a run in the sun, go hang out with your dog, go hang out with your loved ones, because like X is so easy to get toxic on. And it's a great news source. It's a great resource for us all, for all freedom and freedom of speech. But like at the same time, it's so impersonal that it's easy to forget that like we're all people there. And it's so much easier to turn your friends into your enemies in an X environment than in a real environment, right? Where in a real environment, you'd be having a great conversation and you'd be having productive discussion. But on X, it just turns into fucking like throwing shit at each other.
And it seems like those more controversial kind of like, the algo knows how to like incite you to like right now, like my feed is just fucking blown up with Mark Carney, the new like amazing
out by Mark Carney, bro. You like him?
Mark Carney, man. Mark Carney, Bilderberg steering committee member, Mark Carney.
Yeah, right.
Mark Carney is Bank of Canada, Bank of England. He is like, as globalist as it gets. And he is the new celebrated globalist.
Hooray!
Yay! And all of a sudden, Canada is just going full fucking retard again. And all of a sudden, it's like the Liberals are like, well, they were down by 30 points, and now it's a neck and neck heat, according to the.
It feels so contrived and so artificial to me.
I got a call from one of my friends. He's like, it's like COVID all over again. Like it's full weaponization, full flooding of the zone with this narrative. And because of because Trump with the 51st state talk, like he really put all the political parties kind of back a little bit. And Pierre Poilievre, who was like, he was far and away the leader, now has had to be like, Canada first, Trump bad man too. And all of a sudden, like all the conservatives in Canada are going on fucking CNN. And like, they're going on American left media. Like, what is going on here? Like, why?
Well, so Kyle, there's something about like Mark Carney had a cousin or something named Kemper, and everybody now it's literally not enough that he's had to feel
Kempergate 2.0.
Yeah, right. You're right. Your brother is Justin Trudeau, and now everyone's saying you're related to Mark Carney too.
And the association was John Anthony Kemper had a daughter named Margaret Kemper, who then married. So it's like the names are kind of close. My grandfather was John Kemper as well. He immigrated to Canada in the 50s after the war. He has 3 children. One daughter, her name is Christine, not Margaret. There is no affiliation whatsoever. Mark Carney is not my uncle or my half brother. Mark Carney, I have no relation. And
can we make it? Can we just make a game that Kyle's related to every world?
He is, dude.
Well, we're all technically related to everybody a little bit, right, guys?
Like six degrees of Kyle Kemper runs your country.
Like Mark Carney feels like they're like a globalist banker answer to Trump's dollar and cryptocurrency goals, as in like Carney has a lot of rhetoric about really sketchy central bank digital currency goals, and he's spoken out about Trump's economic policies bigly, right? And it really feels like globalist bankers, like, I mean, honestly, it's kind of a point for Trump, in my opinion, because the reason why you put a person like Carney in right next door feels like they're trying to oppose Trump's economic policies and get him under control. And that seems to indicate to me that the bankers are not comfortable with what Trump is doing economically. That makes me think about Trump. And
the thing about Carney too is this is not new. This is something that's been floated for years. So the preconditioning for him has been taking place for a long time. Canadians, by and large, do not know about him, but now because of this selection process, and there was a 4th candidate named Ruby Dalla, who had a lot of energy and was bringing a lot of discussion points, and she just got like pushed right out of it. Like they stole $350,000 from her and excluded her from the whole process, even though she's a Liberal MP. So like, it was a real kind of selection show. And then by him getting through, like his whole campaign team was all Justin's team. Like it was all Justin's team. Entire liberal, like, you know, this polished, high grade production party has now just moved. And now it's like, you know, they did a photo op with Doug Ford and Mark Carney. Like, we just had a good meeting. It was literally just a fucking photo op of them sitting at a diner table. Like, come on. So
they had to counteract the photo op with Ghislaine Maxwell that he had several years ago, right?
Well, it's like those little things, though, in Canada, those little things, they don't matter. It's like, it doesn't matter the truth anymore. It's just the number of impressions that you can give. So they just constantly flood the zone with the propaganda over and 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 over.
Well, if you saw RFK had, right, like shout out to Bobby, who had the Maha commission with the Maha moms. Listen, as somebody who came up with the Grizzly Bear moms and Sarah Palin, it's no joke. There is not a political force as powerful as mothers who are out to protect the future for their children, right? Like that. It is such
a political force. There's not a force on God's earth that is as powerful as moms protecting their children.
Well, and speaking of Maha moms, we are blessed to have the amazing Jessica
Krause in the house.
House
Habit. Let's grow.
Hi, guys.
What's up, Jessica?
How is everyone?
Just chilling.
Yeah.
Talking shit about Canada.
Oh, okay.
And you know, and there's a picture of Mark Carney with Ghislaine Maxwell too, and you're pretty familiar with her work.
Well, I just posted a whole thing on that because you know I love to play three degrees of Ghislaine Maxwell, where literally everyone who is anyone is connected to her by 3 degrees or less. I feel like she definitely tops Kevin Bacon. I think we need to replace. I want a board game.
Dude, that'd be such a cool game to play live where you try to connect Ghislaine Maxwell to them live on the internet.
No, it's
only 3 connections.
I'm telling you, we played it for way too long. And then I was so excited when this new photo popped up because it was one more. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Let's get into the archives. You guys look really comfortable on that field laying, picnicking.
Kind of funny. But someone was pointing out, it was a news article I was reading, was pointing out that Mark Carney has really benefited from, he was largely, as my understanding, kind of absent from the mainstream political spheres throughout Justin Trudeau's entire time leading the Liberal Party. He wasn't a very political guy. He was doing banking.
He went to England. He literally moved to England and ran the Bank of England.
And so he kept his slate perfectly squeaky clean so that now he can be brought in as this golden boy, and he's he seems probably a pretty freaking smart. He's a super fast marathon runner. He's top of his class at Harvard. He went to Oxford. Dude is obviously very capable and competent. I think he's one of those guys that he's not one of the globalist pieces of shit that is just completely incompetent and got there by doing Diddy stuff. I'm worried that he's actually good at his job and we need to take it seriously. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know a lot about him.
I didn't either until he got appointed to be our neighbor.
If it's true that he is actually on a Bilderberg steering committee, that means he is a real broker.
Well, he's the head of the G30, if I remember correctly. And the G30 is the 30 most influential banking operatives of the global financial system.
How old is he? You guys know?
I don't. I'm assuming he's in his 50s.
It's definitely older than that. He's probably mid-60s. I'd say he's 64.
He's only 4 to 5 times as old as the kids that Ghislaine was allegedly.
59 years old. Okay.
I was gonna say 60.
March 16th.
Is he in the black book? Did we find his name?
I don't know. You have the binder, don't you?
I do. I do.
With juicy details.
All the black boxes.
So tell us about the binder.
So I looked through, I still haven't had time to really sit down and go through it, but I did find this one page that's sort of interesting. It's all of this has been out. We know this is all old news, but this page says important email addresses. And it's somebody's handwriting, which I think it's Ghislaine. So it has like Jeffrey and Ghislaine. It has Ghislaine Maxwell's phone, all of her different numbers. It has, can you be quiet when there's like kids making dinner around me. Let's see. Oh, so we have Secret Service personnel for Mr. Barack. What's his name? The former Prime
Obama.
Minister of
Barack.
Israel.
Oh, Ehud.
We've got number for the pilots, the planes. Jean-Luc Brunel. It says scout for young females, Corinne models.
Yep.
And then here's my favorite. It says David Copperfield, and in parentheses it says magician.
Yep.
In case you get confused, you know. We have Eva Anderson, which is Eva Dubin, his Epstein's former girlfriend, who I'm telling you, when Ghislaine saw her on this, she came to testify in Ghislaine's defense, and they were so happy to see each other. But it says former model and mother of, oh my gosh, she's the mother of, what's her daughter's name?
Eva Dubin's daughter?
Yes. So her daughter's in some of the pictures in Jeffrey Epstein's house as a toddler, like a little naked.
Oh, that's dark. Eva Brigitta Anderson Dubin?
You know the story, like Epstein wanted to marry her daughter so that she wouldn't have to pay like inheritance. What is the daughter? Oh, is it Cecilia? He had
Selena.
Selena. Okay. So Epstein had a playlist for Selena that he would play. It was still on Spotify. He had a
I did not know this story.
No, yeah, he had this came out in trial too. Like Epstein, all of his socials were still active. You know, they were left as is, but he had these playlists for Selena, that music she liked to hear on the plane. But if you Google the story, he was seriously, because you know he was supposedly good at hiding everyone's money. He was offered to marry Eva's daughter, Selena, to evade some sort of, you know, inheritance tax. But
do you know what year that was?
You know, it's probably in my notes.
Because she's younger than me. She's born in.
She's very young.
5.
Yeah, that's her. So you know when you see the pictures of Epstein on the plane holding a little girl, that's her.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
He was kind of like an uncle to her. There she is. Yeah.
Yeah, the Dubins are a super dark couple. There's the part in the Giuffre testimony where it I think it was the Giuffre testimony where Giuffre like was left alone with the Dubins for a moment, and she tried to tell them what was going on, not realizing that they knew what was going on, is kind of what the subtext of the conversation was. And when you read it as like an observer, knowing what we know now, it was so sad and dark because of like, it was like word for word what she said and how they responded. And it was like this poor little girl that's asking for help from these two adults. She's been left alone just for a moment with two adults that she thinks are friendlies when actually they're not. My heart.
Yeah, she was hiring, and when Eva was pregnant, she was hiring the escorts or whatever to, you know, be with her husband. But it did say that she participated too. So it was like a whole sick circle. And I've heard a very bad story about, what's his name? Glenn? Is it Glenn Dubin?
Yeah.
Involving a very famous rock star's daughter, underage. I've never written about it, but comes from a trusted source, and it was very, very disturbing. So I think there's a lot of like really dark stuff behind that couple.
I have some pretty, like, I've heard some really dark testimonials about Copperfield.
Really?
Yeah, like I know several women who were groomed starting at the age of like 12 or 13 after like attending one of his shows, that he would stay in contact and constantly trying to fly them out, some of them successfully, that he would carry on with starting at like 12 and 13 and then dumping them out at like 17.
What? I mean, do you guys
probably close to a dozen like testimonials I've heard around Las Vegas, like very common.
I mean, remember he was dating the most beautiful woman in the world. Like he was with Claudia Schiffer forever at his peak, remember? I didn't know that.
could have been just a front, like right, like that. I mean, the thing is, the stories often have repeat, right? Like you kind of you get the credibility when it's like
when it's
he
repeated.
recognized me, and then his security came up and brought me backstage, and right, like
Multiple
with
witnesses,
my
multiple
parents,
testimonies.
and then he starts to like woo the parents, and then right, eventually that leads to like bringing the child, like the young girl, out himself, like to these fancy dinners. And
Well, that's actually a good point, you guys, because nobody really talks about the parents' involvement here. And
Great.
during Ghislaine's trial, a lot of these young girls, their parents would drive them there and drop them off, including Virginia Giuffre. Their parents would drive them to this mysterious mansion in Palm Beach and drop their 15-year-old daughter off. And then, because this is how it all kind of unfolded, right? When the one parent found all the cash from her daughter had all this like loose cash, but one of the girls, she's an actress now, beautiful. She's beautiful young actress. Her mom was like flying with Jeffrey and Ghislaine and loved them and was basically serving her daughter up to them at four. I think she was the youngest one. I think she was like 14 as far as like testifying, but
I mean, it's very
nobody
similar
talks
to,
about
like,
the parents' involvement, you know?
yeah,
right? Like child stars, where parents just want their little slice of fame and they're willing to pretend like they're not abusing their children to get it. It's super dark.
I mean,
Actually, the drug.
it even goes back to like Shirley Temple. If you listen to her stories now, knowing what we know, Whitney Cummings talks a lot about it, but it's like horrifying. She was basically
what the last autobiographies I read, or biographies I read, was Howard Hughes. And when you read the Howard Hughes documentary, it is mind-blowing how he would literally see somebody on a movie or on a commercial or on an ad and be like, bring me this girl.
Yep.
And literally, like, boom, you're living with crazy ass Howard Hughes. Ended up obviously surrounded by like jars of his own piss and like absolutely probably syphilitically crazy. And nuts always. But Jessica, what happened with you and Laura Loomer? I only like caught a piece.
Right, hold on.
I'm going there. I'm going there. Sorry.
I want to just stop before we get that. We're 32
I should read
minutes
her.
in.
I should read her text online.
One second, Jessica. 1 second before we jump into, because everybody wants to know about that. I just want to give a little bit of acknowledgement to the 21,000 people who are tuned in right now to this. We love you. I also just want to give a little bit of a shout out to a couple of our sponsors before we just jump in.
Look at that ultimate tease, like a pro, baby.
We got Alp. Alp, folks, if you're sick and tired of woke nicotine pouches, look no further than Alp Pouch. It's founded by Tucker Carlson. He started it as an alternative to Zyn because he is a man who loves his nicotine pouches. And I have become a big fan of these things as well. They contain nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive substance. If you want to save 10%, use Maha 10, alppouch.com. Boom. That's one. This stuff's great.
I like the branding.
I can't say that it will stop you from smoking, but I stopped smoking. It's been pretty wild.
It'll probably help.
Very long time. And I actually didn't have this for a week. I just got my order. It comes in a nice little pack. Took about 4 days to arrive. It was $30 after the discount, including shipping to the door, wherever you are. Maha 10 nicotine pouches. Then,
a lot cheaper than cigarettes, too.
Lot cheaper than cigarettes. And in each of them, there's 20 pouches. So that's 100 pouches. Each pouch, I've been skiing. I throw one in.
You can last for at least like 3 days, right?
Well, one pouch lasts for an hour, maybe up to an hour. But that's a real good time. And then, another thing that I've been trying to reduce in my life is alcohol and alcohol consumption. And when I was in DC, we met the founders of Gethy, Chris Reinhold. He's produced this fantastic drink. It's a spirit-like drink. It's a replacement for alcohol, and it is infused with cannabis. Not for minors, but it is a lovely drink. If you're interested in potentially transitioning off of some alcohol, it will not get you blitzed, you will not be greening out. At least I haven't had that experience. I'm having some in a champagne glass right now, just straight. It's delicious. So if you use code MAHA, you get 20% off your order there. And the other one I don't have right now is our friends Hannah from Hannah Life. You've probably seen the commercial, but they sell these natural superfood supplements. They come in these fancy little packs. You can buy just a box of them. Just like literally, it's like a meal of incredibly high grade honey, ghee, Ayurvedic substances, nutritional stuff.
It's about delicious. To be my running food, dude. I didn't realize they were coming in those kinds of pouches.
It comes in these kind of pouches.
To have honey and ghee in a pouch.
They have it in the pouches. They have it in the jars. You know, and again, it's not McDonald's. It's not like, you know, it's not going to be the cost of it. It comes at a cost, but it's like, recognize we don't need to be consuming as much as the television or the advertisers suggest that we need to be. And it's better to consume high grade, nutritious substances versus that. And the other one that we don't have on here that we want to give a shout out to is Get Eye Plus. Didn't have a chance to make that, but getiplus.com. If you know, you know. Love to our sponsors. And if anybody's interested or has a solution that they would like to highlight on the show here for us to talk about, we're looking for founder-owned, Maha-oriented products, brands, services to be able to showcase, because at the end of the day, we want to support, you know, the entire Maha movement, the mission of moving away from the hyperconsumption, corporate, addictive, bullshit food and encouraging high grade, high vibe.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to forget too that businesses are what make our world. Like, our whole world is run by companies, and corporations work very hard to take over that entire space, monopolize everything. And supporting family and founder-owned businesses, Maha businesses that align with your values, that make the world a better place instead of a worse place, that is helping to build infrastructure for a better America. So it's like, it matters to support family-owned businesses, whether it's these ones or any other family-owned business in your town, in your stores. Do it.
Boom. So with that, Jessica, you and Laura Loomer, I've heard that name around. She once took a picture of my bus and made it really famous on the internet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were like, who is this Kennedy bus in where were we, Milwaukee, that's driving around playing hippie music? And
who's this hippie?
It was fucking awesome. You may have even been on the bus at the time.
Well, so Laura Loomer, I met her, I want to say a year ago, because, you know, there's the whole story about, she gave me the t-shirt for my son Rex, Trump did nothing wrong. And I posted that photo. That was like my coming out photo to say,
whoa,
you know, it was
goes way back.
It goes way back. It went back to, we had a very nice lunch date. I did not beg her to be at lunch. We had a very nice lunch date. That was, of all the things she said about me, I was like, I did not beg you to come to lunch. Anyway, so it goes back to, I supported the t-shirt. I thought, you know, everyone told me she's crazy and she's a loose cannon and all this. And I was like, well, I liked her. We had a great lunch. And then from then on, we got along well. And then not until do you remember when she was photographed on the plane with Trump?
Yep.
Yeah. So I thought that was not good, because she had all this sort of like random controversy with, like, you know, she was the 9/11 denier and all these things, which it's not even that I disagreed with some of these things. It's just, I didn't think it was a great look for her. I thought it was a little too risky to have her on the plane going to a 9/11 memorial when she was a denier. So
Laura Loomer doesn't think 9/11 happened the way they said it.
She has a whole.
I'm gonna go dig into Laura Loomer's theories. I'm stoked.
So anyway, that was our first fight. You know, I was like,
9/11 happened. Definitely happened.
It did.
Bro, pump the brakes, bro.
And I'm not familiar with what she believes. And here's the difference between her and I will say I'm not familiar. Instead of just spewing just bullshit and lies to slander someone because you're mad, you're in a fight with them. Anyway, I didn't like that she was on the plane. I didn't think it was a great move for Trump, because, you know, we were in contentious times, and I just thought he doesn't need Laura Loomer on the plane. We got in a fight. I explained my stance to her. I said, I don't hate you. I just, you know, I have to comment on these things and I have to be honest. even when it's your friend. So we got past that. And then I've been very supportive of her. I've defended her a lot. And I've always said, she's a great investigative reporter. She goes really deep and she has a different style than I like. I feel like she's very abrasive and she does these crazy stunts, but I still always supported her until I was sucked into the center of one of her slander, you know, pieces, that I realized she doesn't actually care about facts. So what happened was we were on good terms until Ashley St. Clair came out demanding Elon Musk, own the paternity of her child. And all I said was that there was more to the story because, I'm friends with Ashley and I do know there's more to the story. And I was just sort of coming to Ashley's defense saying, Laura Loomer just went crazy with it and she got really excited because it was getting Elon's attention. He started following her. He was liking things. He was leaving little comments and Laura went crazy with it. And so she just started trashing Ashley to like a very just disgusting.
She gets really intense.
It was so intense,
Laura,
right? It was
really intense.
It was so crude. So I tuned into one of her X spaces and I actually had to log off. And like, I'm hard to offend, but the names she was calling her, it was disgusting. And she never once brought up the kids, that there's actually a baby involved here who is going to one day look back and be like, my father refused to acknowledge that he's my father. And so I was covering it from a mother's perspective. And I was like, yes, Ashley made some PR mistakes and I don't agree with how she's going about everything. But I'm just saying, Laura, Ashley has also stood up for you publicly when you were deplatformed and or whatever, demonetized. I tried to bring a little peace between them and that failed miserably. So I kind of gave up. But then the next week it was me because of this stupid binder. Laura.
What's that? So I've known Laura. I've known Laura a long time, like before she was like as famous as she is. And I listen, I give her credit. She is abrasive in a way that gets results and brings like legitimate attention to stuff. But I've also learned to like just stay out of the personal battles, right? Like there's no winning putting yourself in between Laura and a fight she's in.
But I don't actually think she's as good as I thought she was, because what she did to me was she dug up story slides and she pieced them together out of order. So I was talking about so I've covered all these trials. I've actually
your take on Ghislaine pretty hard, right?
She went crazy on the Ghislaine stuff, which I'm like,
based on the T-shirt, Jason, the fact that you the real element was like, she's wearing a T-shirt, therefore.
I mean, she was tagging every member of the White House, and it's like, I stand by that T-shirt. Yes, I wore that T-shirt. On the back, it said "Convict Her Clients." It was a point. I wore it to the DNC. It was funny. Okay. Also, I'm like, you're a stunt queen. You love these stupid stunts, and you're trying to trash me because I wore Free Ghislaine. I'll wear it again tomorrow. I don't care. But
also leaving out half the message is kind of disingenuous.
Yes.
I will say I defended you several times because I knew.
Did you, Dustin?
I actually did, because we actually had that discussion and I knew the nuance around like your opinions around Ghislaine, and they're legitimate, which is like what, right? The point was, how is this lady the only person being propped up? Not like excusing in any way. So I went to bat for you several times.
Well, thank you. Because it was one of those things, it made me furious because I've spent the past 3 years focusing on the nuance here, because it also, not all these victims who came forward claiming money from the Epstein fund are actually victims. So it is very complicated. And to say these things in public out of context, people just jump on you. So I've been through hell doing this, covering Ghislaine's trial, because it wasn't what the media said. Her trial was not what was portrayed in media. And that was the first time I had to go against all of mainstream to prove, like, I also had nothing to lose. I was just like, here's what I see, I was no one. But it ended up being what kind of defined me. And so for her to come in and just throw all this shit at the wall and then post the photo and tag Pam Bondi and Caroline Levitt, it was ridiculous. And so I saw in real time how she'll spin things she's not really interested in the facts when she's trying to tear someone down. And so I've lost all. I don't think I'll ever defend her again, just because I was, a subject in her tornado. And I mean, if I were to read to you her text, she's insane. Like her rage. I've never had anyone text me like that. And this was over. I can't even remember, but I kept my calm, and she was. So we're not on good terms right now. We're not.
Well, I listen. I hate to have brought it up, but
No, I think it's no. I haven't got to
everyone
actually
over
explain
here-
it. And also, you guys, nobody really got to know the story of the binders because we were under embargo. What is that? What it's
Yeah.
called? And
Yeah.
so we were
What's the
locked.
story of
We
the
were.
binders? How did you get invited to get the binder? Like, what was the criteria for getting a binder?
Well, we never knew that. We didn't know we were coming to get a binder. I was invited by someone who put together this group of influencers because they wanted sort of impactful, creators, content creators. And so of course I accepted my first invitation to the White House, but I knew nothing. And all I was told is we would sit down with Caroline Levitt and go through, the next 4 years, how the administration wants to bring in alternative media.
Mhm.
So never expecting what we were actually given, which was a briefing by every major member. So we sit down, we talk to Caroline Levitt, and then JD Vance comes in, and then Bobby Kennedy comes in, Kash Patel, all of them. All of them. So, Mark Rubio, just all of them sat down and they really took us seriously. They spent 45 minutes, each person, kind of giving us a briefing on what they're doing and what they hope to do. It was amazing. And so all of the people there had never been to the White House. We don't know what's normal and what's not. We're like in the Roosevelt room, and then Trump bursts in and wants us to come into the Oval Office, and he's like Santa Claus. He's like handing out candy, and he wants us to take a marker, and he wants us to look at his art, and he wants to know what we think about this painting. Do we like George Washington or Ronald Reagan? Do we think Trump should be replaced with George Washington? Or he's hilarious. So we take all of our pictures, and then they just kind of throw us out the front door, and we're holding because that's the thing. So Pam Bondi walked in, and she thought this was like a fun thing to give us as like a, she said, it's not anything new, but here's what we have so far. I want you to share the legal letter where she was demanding the next phase. So she was saying you need to focus on the next phase of it. But at the same time, when our meeting was wrapping up, the president was meeting with, was it the prime minister of?
Of Great Britain.
So they said, hold off on the Epstein reporting. Let the media have this meeting. So we were like, okay. So we walk out, with holding these, like it's giant. And I have like a stupid hat on because I can't carry everything. So I'm wearing like the Trump was right about everything. And I have like my folder and the prime minister's showing up. So we're like this, and there's just like a sea of photographers, and they're photographing us, and we're kind of laughing because it is so weird. Like, we don't know if this is always the case. Is this how the White House always looks? So everybody, it was kind of really messed up. We kind of got thrown out there.
It almost feels like you guys got baited into it. Like, did you get any sense that you got manipulated into that photo op, or do you think it really was completely accidental?
Well, I don't know. I actually don't know, but I was upset that it went down that way because it overshadowed the fact that they were bringing in independent media. Like, I also, I got lumped in with like these laughing sort of like different type of creators. And then I'm like, well, I was very happy when she gave us the binder because I couldn't wait to go through it. And I thought, at least I have it all in one place to reference in my office. I didn't think it was, a bombshell. And she told us it wasn't, but we couldn't talk about that. So by the time we were able to talk about it, it was just like, it had gone crazy on social media. And then they have the photos of everyone laughing. But I mean, I was not laughing. I was talking to
I think you did a pretty good job of playing it low key, to be honest. Like,
I hope so.
dealt with it differently. And some people, like, we didn't even know were there. You weren't in many of the pictures because you were playing low key. I don't even remember if I saw you in any of the pictures, honestly.
I actually wasn't, and my name didn't get brought into it, which was nice until Laura Loomer brought out the Ghislaine Maxwell t-shirt.
Got her.
But I mean, so there was a story there, it was like I don't think they were like, haha, like, look at, we have all the like, it was more like, we had just had this crazy afternoon. We spent 3.5 hours And the president was incredibly kind to us. He was like, "You are the new media." He said, like, mainstream is dead in his own words, but he was like, I was told that Barron really had got him to understand the power of social media. So he treated us like kings and queens. It was an amazing day until the whole binder gate.
Kind of took it all away. Jessica, do you
Yeah.
have like official press credentials for the White House?
No, there were, so then I got called back. I did DC and then I flew to Mar-a-Lago for an event. So I did kind of trail Trump. He went to Mar-a-Lago and then I got invited back by Melania's team and I got the press. I think it's like a little, oh, here it is. I got a little press pass, but it's not permanent, but here's what it looks like. So you get a little day pass and you get to sit, but you guys, I didn't fit in with press pool. I was like, I showed up, and they were like very serious and very like, and I'm like, so what do you guys do for fun? Like I'm like trying to make small talk and I'm like sitting on the floor and I'm like, there's sort of a buttoned up crowd.
I actually love that though, right? So we had Caroline Levitt absolutely obliterate another AP reporter today.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And,
Yeah,
no, like absolute obliteration. And
Where were they from?
AP.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
What was it that she said? Do you remember?
He was very condescending about like, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
Yeah.
And, right. Like it was one of the most like absurd, almost like purposefully
Like set up.
Yeah, right. Like trying to provoke right. I think they were happy when, AP credentials got pulled and all the douchebag media rallied circled the wagons. This dude, absolute, like just you're almost like prototypical media douchebag, right? Like,
but don't you think it's fun to watch the press conferences because Trump is back to like obliterating that? Like, it's so fun to watch these.
I do though. I love that Matt Boyle and Breitbart are getting questions. I love that OAN is getting right. I actually think that we benefit right from having people like you and the independent media, people who come across as authentic instead of people who have been trained in the like bullshit media system. I think that's going to lead to a lot of really good moments. It's one.
I think so too.
Because I want Ian Carroll to be able to ask questions about like freaking Pam Bondi.
Hell no, dude. Fuck
I don't want to ask questions either, Ian. But Ian, you should go submit your thing.
I'll go at one point. Yeah,
I think we just hang out in the corner. I don't want to be asking anyone any questions. I just, you like see people like carrying like boxes of Diet Coke past you, and you're like, oh, everything's real. Like it's really real.
Yup. Yeah, I don't think they'd let me in there at this point. We'll see. That'd be cool if they did.
You can turn it up a little bit.
It'd be a good test.
I think we could make it happen. And maybe we buddy system it, right? Like we get you guys to go together. So,
yes.
Right, like we've got some backup.
Well, I feel like they're so fun. They kind of even mentioned like setting up the library in the White House for us to do live like this. We would be like live from the White House library. And so I think we're in for a really, really cool journalistic chapter where, it's been they've been covering a dead man who is like in a fate, like we don't even know if he was there, but and now you have this guy who's really a comedian who can't wait every day to talk to camera. And my favorite thing he's doing right now is, every time someone says something stupid, he's like, where are you from? And they'll be like, oh, Huffington Post. And he's like, they're still you guys are still in business? Like he always acts like he thinks they've gone out of business. It's
no, Trump's troll level is next level. And
for a 78-year-old man.
For real. Holy moly.
I feel like all of the cabinet picks are also like, they're all really good at long form. And so I like one of my complaints with Kennedy in the last week, the anti-Semitism tweet like really set me off. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
wait, what was it?
He put out a tweet that the biggest health crisis in America is anti-Semitism.
Oh God! Why did he do that?
Like that is Obama era.
Kyle, why did he do that?
Rah.
I don't know. Ian, why did you do that?
So, right,
Why did he do that?
And then the second was the Fox News article that they put the subtitle in that MMR is actually
They
super
kind of
cool.
played him on that one, right?
He did get played. I know for a fact he got played on that. Yeah.
But the answer to that is right, not to respond at Fox News. To be honest, it's to sit down with a Jessica Krause or an Ian Carroll and like talk through like what the actual intent was. Like that's how I feel like we fight back against
I agree.
like media setups. And I want to see more access, especially from Bobby. So I'll give you guys, maybe this is a hot take, but my take on Bobby has been that like he was raised as a Kennedy, right? And like they have a very like serious view of how the government functions and like how you present yourself when you're in office. I feel like he's more cautious than the rest of the administration by far.
Yeah.
Like you have JD Vance who's like, suck my balls,
you wanted him to be unhinged.
That is such a good point. That is exactly what I sensed when I was in the Oval Office because he was in. So I feel like they're all having so much fun, which is why everyone's mad. Like they're like JD Vance is funny and they all cuss, like Trump's cussing. JD Vance cusses. They're having fun, and they're even saying like they're having a lot of fun, and you can tell the energy there is like, it's electric. But then I go into the Oval Office and Bobby looked a little lost, and he was so serious, and like and I'm just like, uh-oh.
Well, listen, I get that, right? Like I think Bobby's probably outside of the like geopolitical stuff, right? Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, Iran. I think Bobby's in the hardest of the battles. And I kind of had this expectation that like we knew his confirmation was going to be super close. And I think it set kind of a tone where like clearly he was like, I'm not going to be out there. I'm not going to jeopardize confirmation because it's such a close thing. Yep. But once he got confirmed, I was hoping we would see more of him in long form.
Okay, so I will say, sources close to Kennedy tell me that he really needs to get his guys in too. So he's been confirmed, but he has a skeleton army, quote, and he needs to get his guys confirmed who can help him because right now, if he were to come out really hard against, like, say, the measles vaccine, he'd be done. Okay, he'd be done. I talked to people who made me understand, and I need to write about this because people were freaking out. And then once I had clarity, it made sense that he is playing 5D chess and he has to get some people in before he can move forward. And so getting the vitamin A reference in that article was a big deal. The headline he did not choose. And so I know we want him to go hard, but he can't do it yet. Okay. He has 90,000 people who are prepared to hate him. He has to go very smart and he has to be strategic about it. So I think
I get that. We by the way, this week have been heavily supporting both Jay Bhattacharya at NIH. We've been asking people to call their senators.
Jay, yep.
And Mark Macri, like Daiquiri, that's how I remember it. Boom. Very, very health-minded at FDA, right? As two appointments this week that we've been encouraging people to reach out because, right, like, again, HHS has a bigger budget than the Pentagon. I don't think people realize how much money.
That is true, huh?
And in order to implement an agenda as aggressive as the Maha agenda, like you need not just your generals, but you need your captains and lieutenants and honestly non-commissioned officers, like all on the same page. And it takes time to build that stuff out. I will say the follow-up since the two things that I complained about earlier, we're going to study the possible relationship between vaccines and autism. I was very excited to see. Right. And I think that's very aggressive. And then right today, he had the major food manufacturers in the White House. And this is something that like I get really excited about, because he's not waiting for all of the usual government bureaucratic red tape. He basically called in Kellogg's and GM and General Mills, not the car company, right? He called them in and said, listen, like, you're going to take dyes out of the food, so start doing it now. Like, I can't, I'm not issuing the edict right this moment, but like, you're going to take these harmful dyes out of your food the same way that you've done in Canada and other countries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And right, like using his bully pulpit and the office to just start getting action without having to wait for the retards in Congress or right, the courts to sort it out. Like, just start bullying them to do it. So I will say, since the anti-Semitism thing, I was very bothered by, because claiming that something is a health risk or a health crisis leads to the justification of censorship, which was one of the like key components of Maha that really brought me in. So like,
so that happened this week. Did he post that this week?
Yeah, it was maybe a week ago now.
Yeah, it's about a week.
No, but boys, we have our special guest in the back room.
Indeed, and just to set this stage too, you know, one of the things that Bobby did as well is he did an interview with Hannity at Steak and Shake talking about tallow, and so we're gonna dive into tallow. So let's please welcome Graham from Tallow Grill. Graham, how are we feeling, brother? Welcome to Omaha.
Howdy, howdy. I'm doing great. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. For people that don't know anything about Tallow Grill, could you give like the quick pitch of like what's Tallow Grill and why did you found it?
Yeah, it's basically, you know, if Joe Rogan, Paul Saladino, and RFK created a restaurant. So no, that's a little joking, a little bit of truth, but no, basically, you know, we are the next fast casual chain that's going to go nationwide and actually bring truly healthy, non-toxic food to the consumer. So a little bit of background on kind of, you know, how we got to this journey. I ate the standard American diet. You know, I was eating Chick-fil-A 3 times a week, sodas with every meal, extremely unhealthy. And then I started to go, originally kind of went down the rabbit hole of regenerative farming. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Joel Salatin, who's kind of the, you know, the godfather of regenerative farming. I started to go down those rabbit holes, and I was like, oh, like, you know, it makes perfect sense. Like, why aren't we doing it like this? And then around the same time, I got into the, you know, the Rhonda Patrick and Peter Attia kind of micronutrient smoothie world. And then next thing you know, carnivore diet hit JRE podcast, and everything kind of clicked there. And so, you know, I'm a big, you know, Paul Saladino follower. That's kind of the diet evolution I've followed most closely. And then, you know, along with that, my wife and I, we've gotten so into, and realized, and our eyes have been opened, I guess you could say awakened to all the toxicity that's in like every part of our lives, you know, whether it's the clothes we wear, the food we eat, the air we breathe, everything. And so, you know, for the last probably 3-4 years, my wife and I, we'd eat out maybe, you know, a handful of times a year. You know, we'd go to sushi, and even though the sushi rice is, you know, poisoned with rice bran oil and usually a little bit of sugar and stuff like that too, you know, that's just like the safest food we could go out to eat. And eventually we just got sick of it, and we were like, you know what? You know, I think we can have a bigger impact on the system as a whole, whether it be regenerative farming, eating out, everything, if we start this restaurant. Because if we start this restaurant, not only can we give people a place to eat, but we can put pressure on the, you know, food distribution system and the farmers, and partner with people who are doing it the right way and help them scale because of, you know, the guaranteed demand we bring them. And so, you know, we started this back in October as a pop-up location here in Sacramento, California, and it took off right away. I mean, 2-hour-long lines. We'd sell out of 100 pounds of our tallow, and we'll get to that, real tallow fried French fries in like 2.5 hours on Friday. And then shortly after, our Instagram blew up, and
what's your Instagram?
Tallow Grill.
Everyone go follow Tallow Grill. Let's bump those numbers up.
And
Maybe that's right. I appreciate it. Say what?
Oh, no, and house. So, all right, I went to do my research today at Steak and Shake, and you warned me.
I warned you.
Excited. So I tempered my expectations, and then somebody I like. There's not many doctors I trust, but one of them is a doctor named Dr. Angela, who has been like legendary. Actually, California, right? But like from COVID, I've come to trust like her, like realness a lot, and she reached out to me to also warn me about tallow, as like that there are still issues there for people who get fries. So why should I be hesitant? Like, right, my general sense is Steak and Shake, at a minimum, I give them credit because people are talking about tallow because they had the courage to like make the move to like turn the grill, like, right, turn the fryers over. So I'm happy to go like show some support and get some business. But now I'm a little concerned about like pressing this as like something that's super Maha. So I'd love your take, Grant.
Yeah, absolutely. So preface this with saying I'm extremely biased, right? And I'm kind of in a, this whole thing's been kind of in a weird position for me because obviously the business side of my mind, tells you, oh, well, I want to be the only one who provides, the healthy option for people. But then at the end of the day, that's not why I got into this. So when you see big chains like this switching, which by the way, they're a completely kind of different line of food than we are, we should all be excited. The only problem is, like, Callie Means and all these people who were covering it, and Alex Clark kind of discovered afterwards, it was just lipstick on a pig in a sense. And so the real issue is that big chains, both fast food and fine dining, which I think is something the consumer doesn't understand, right? It's not just the McDonald's of the world who are kind of feeding us poison, right? It's the nicest fine dining restaurants out there. They're all cooking in, seed oils, vegetable oils. They want the neutral flavor profile of the neutral oil that you can only get with, using canola or grapeseed or whatever kind of oil it is, right? So, but the one thing they all have in common is they usually order their fries from these big French fry manufacturers. Now, as Jesse and Ben's, I'll give them a shout out. They're the only truly tallow frozen French fry. They're still at a small scale, but other than them, there's not a supplier out there that supplies frozen French fries that weren't pre-fried in vegetable oils. And in Steak and Shake's case, they were not only pre-fried, but they had all these other ingredients. And I meant to have that list up, but it was like, all these binders and starches and added sugars and, the classic cocktail of what is this doing in what should be a, 3 ingredient item, potatoes.
Wait, I'm sorry. French fries are pre-fried?
Yeah, a little context. I used to be a chef. French fries are super, super hard to make crispy. It's freaking impossible. And we, like in some of the fine dining restaurants I used to work in, we would have entire freezers dedicated to, you have to pre-fry them once, and then you have to dry them out as much as possible. The frying helps, freezing them helps. Then you fry them again. It's like a whole nightmare.
They get fried before they get frozen?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
How does In-N-Out do it though? Because I watched that dude in like the drive-thru be like, bam.
I don't know
why they're soggy. That's why they're soggy.
But they're so good. I mean, should we just not eat French fries?
No. Enter Tallow Grill. That's what we're doing. And Ian, I mean, where were you when we were starting this, man? I needed this chef experience. I
gotta come back over to California, dude.
That's right. I guess so.
So you went through the growing pains of trying to figure out how to get a crispy French fry, didn't you?
Oh yeah, and it was difficult, and that's what There's a reason, and I don't know if it's credit to Steak and Shake or whatever it is, but they can't just switch like that to making tallow French fries that are going to be the same quality as they normally do. Because if you want to do it in-house with limited steps, they're going to turn out like In-N-Out French fries, right? In-N-Out could switch their fryers and produce pretty much the same French fry that's fried in tallow. Problem is, In-N-Out's kind of, I love In-N-Out, but it's not anymore. But it's, it's notorious for soggy French fries. And
Yeah,
so
no, that's
Ian's
fair.
right.
I mean, do we all agree that they're good French fries, even though they're
No.
soggy?
Strong
No?
disagree.
I'm with you, Jessica. I've always liked it.
I don't even order them. I tell them to keep their French fries. Come up their
Ian,
ass.
are you crazy?
Yes, I am. I'm literally a professional conspiracy theorist, Jessica.
We're gonna have to.
I mean, I would have them animal style, and then they're covered in all the stuff, so it doesn't really matter.
Dude, I didn't know I could get their French fries animal style.
I need this clip because I'm gonna take a poll. I need to know how I need to know who's.
It's war.
Well, so I've been following the chat, and shout out to dude, we have the best chat. Like for real, I love how active everybody is. Quick explanation of the difference between tallow and what they were using. I don't think we ever gave everybody just basic level breakdown.
Right. So what it turned out was that in the final frying of the potatoes that they do at the restaurant, they were using pure tallow. Now it's not, I don't think it was 100% grass fed, pasture raised, none of those, characteristics, but it was 100% beef tallow with no, additives or anti-foaming agents from what I understand. Yeah. The problem was the French fries they're putting in that fryer full of tallow were previously frozen. And before they were frozen, previously fried in another seed oil, vegetable oil blend, and also coated with a bunch of random garbage. And that's the case for, again, 99% of the French fries out there. But, I think what's, the reason we've kind of, taken off so quickly was that, it's not just the seed oils for us, right? So we fry our French fries and it's super laborious. It's a lot of man hours to get this crispy French fry, a lot of extra steps, and to have it purely in tallow with no other crap added. And I will say our potatoes are also organic. But the thing is, we got rid of plastic cutting boards. We don't marinate our foods in plastic. All of our marinades are organic fruit juices and organic spices. We're trying to source every single ingredient as organic. We've got 2 that we're not, but they're part of the Clean 15. We are, we use reverse osmosis water.
That's super impressive.
Yeah, and I think the reason is because, and I do feel for some of the existing restaurateurs that are out there. It's because they don't come from this world. They come from the restaurant world and are trying to adapt to this new trend that is kind of coming upon them. I came from your guys' world, right? I came from the health world, and this is a passion of mine. I had to learn okay, how can I take everything I know that needs to be out of restaurants and out of our food and make it a reality in the restaurant? And so, I think that's what resonates with people, because I literally share the exact same frustration as everybody else does. And that's why, one of our slogans is it's time to love eating out again, because that's the vibe. These line of people, I'm going out there talking to them. It's this, nostalgic joy of I've been waiting for this. Finally I can dine and really dine guilt-free. There's no sacrifice, right? Our meats are 100% pasture raised, 100% grass-fed and finished beef. Like I said, microplastic conscious, everything you could do at your own home to the highest possible degree, we are implementing in our kitchen. And so, we're, again,
and that's a blueprint that you can show to other restaurants as well, of just how you're doing this to encourage, because one of the challenges that we've gotten is the food and restaurant production has become so large that, you know, my family, we have brew pubs in Ottawa, and yeah, we're getting everything from Cisco, and like you said, it's the same producers that produce all that same stuff, and it's a matter of convenience, and there isn't a lot of deep thinking going into the consciousness or the vibration of the food or the health of the food.
Mm-hmm.
So just what you're doing, and by sharing and, you know, being the pioneer that's, you know, trend setting, if you will, like showcasing this can go a long way. Now, I do just for some people in the audience would like you to answer the question of just like, what is tallow?
Oh, good start. Yeah, I kind of forget. Not everybody's familiar with it, but tallow is essentially beef fat, to put it simply. So tallow can be made from different sources of fat from the animal, but typically it's this fat that's found around the kidneys of the cow. But yeah, it's, you know, you've got all these different cooking oils, right? Olive oil. You've got these manufactured poisonous seed and vegetable oils. Those are going to be your canola, safflower, sunflower oil. Well, tallow is sourced, you know, directly from the animal. It's also, you know, a great kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's a very efficient use of what used to be a scrap that they would throw away, right? Yeah. You know, once they convinced everyone in America that no, saturated fats, which that's what tallow is primarily made of, are horrible for you. Switch to these seed oils. Well, guess what? All that valuable fat that's super nutrient dense, loaded with vitamins A, D, E, and K, just being thrown away for the most part, thrown away or turned into some other, you know, random products. And so it's a really amazing thing. It can be used in moisturizers. That's why, you know, everybody's seeing tallow face bombs. We actually have one that we're going to be kind of remarketing, re-rolling out soon with like the highest grade tallow. And it's one of those kind of, you know, silver bullets, like cure-alls. You can use it in cooking, moisturizers. It's great. But one of the difficulties of why a lot of restaurants have a hard time implementing it outside of just using it in their fryers is that it's actually solid at room temperature. So what that means is, you know, you can't use it in marinades, right? So, you know, Chipotle, for instance, right? They're soaking all their meats in the marinades. They want to keep it fat and juicy and everything. Well, they're soaking it in, you know, I don't know if I think it's canola oil in their marinades, but, you know, it's a liquid oil. So you can't do that with tallow. So
warm tallow marinades, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. There's some different ways to try and get around it and add the fat back in. But yeah, that's essentially what tallow is.
And it's worth mentioning too, while we're on the topic of tallow, that if anyone hasn't read the book, The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teicholz, it's a really great investigative book about like the history of how the concept of fat was demonized and how the food industry was purchased in order to distract from things like the sugar industry and distract from things like this fake fats industry. And a lot of people don't realize that fat is actually extremely healthy and it's critical for optimal brain health, for optimal hormone health, for everything about being a human. Fats, like I always say that feeding a baby vegan should be called child abuse, simply because you need to be feeding babies animal fats, because animal fats are essential to brain development. And a lot of we now have this paradigm that fat is kind of unhealthy and we should avoid, like, keep your fat intake low. But if we switch back to real tallow, that is like healthy, and you should be eating as much, you should be eating a lot of it, right? And in general, it's not going to even make you fat. And anyone that has not read The Big Fat Surprise, highly recommend. It's like a fun read because she's like a good at like telling stories and going out and doing like interviewing Eskimos and going through the history, and like it's a crazy book, and it will totally rewrite your understanding of nutrition and especially of fat.
I feel compelled, and I'll get deeper on this with Dr. Angelo for sure. Mm-hmm. Right. But the concern is that the shot and people who have the spike protein, right, they have insufficient, I'm going to butcher this a little bit, but insufficient bile in order to metabolize fatty, like fats. Mm-hmm. And like so she's seeing, and doctors are saying, an increase in people with gallstones and gallbladder problems in a big way. And so I feel like it's also probably a result of, like, again, when you take something that is similar to something that we essentially need and you put it into your body over and over again, I think the issue that you end up with is that your body doesn't process what it's supposed to exactly the way it was before. Graham, one of the questions I have about Tallow Grill: how much more expensive is it for you to take this wholly organic, healthy way to prepare your food? Like, how much have you been able to, like, chop that down price wise so that it's still affordable to people?
It's a good question. So tallow specifically it's going to depend on the grade of your tallow. So if you get the stuff that, Steak and Shake's getting, which is basically the bare minimum, it's probably somewhere between 3 to 5 times more expensive.
Whoa,
somewhere in that ballpark.
That's way more expensive.
It's really expensive. That being said, it can be.
That's the tallow versus the seed oils.
Yeah,
correct.
But that's the cheapest version of the tallow.
Exactly. That's like bare bottoms. Now maybe the pricing they get for being at such a huge scale is slightly less than that. But let's say it's, at best 2.5, 3 times as expensive. The one thing to note is you can reuse it in your fryer more often because it's a more stable fat. So it can kind of offset. Now, the problem with our costs, because, my goal over the long term, we were actually just having a discussion with my team on this today. If, in the future, we could roll out some sort of like membership or something to where we can get our prices down by essentially, guaranteeing some revenue ahead of time. Because our goal is I want to get this food and this dining experience in as many people's hands as possible and as affordable as possible. That being said, with all the other measures we're taking, we don't use cheap plastic Cambro containers, right?
Yeah.
Ian probably, Ian knows exactly what I'm talking about.
It's the bread and butter of a restaurant, dude.
Bread and butter. Well,
and restaurants are so hard to run in profit. Like, the restaurant industry is notoriously one of the hardest industries to make a profit in. I'm kind of mind blown that you're pulling this off, dude.
Yeah, razor thin margins. Now, the fast casual, the fast food space, they're larger margins, right? Chipotle runs at a 20 to 25% margin. That being said, when somebody can buy a, plastic Cambro container for $5, but we have to buy a stainless steel hotel pan for $22, right? We have a lot of added costs, right? Our cutting boards are giant butcher block countertops, right? They're not flimsy plastic that's being shredded off into your food. So our costs are, when you look at our menu prices, we're still dialing them in. But I think when we relaunch in April, our costs are going to be probably about, $19 kind of base rate for a meal, which is pricey. We're right around the kind of sweet green level of the fast casual pricing. If
dude, this is not that expensive. I mean, like, a little more. It's more than like super fast food, but it's under $20 for all your items. I'm looking at it.
Right. Now, I will say maybe I'm out of touch, but I'm a really frugal guy. When I go out to eat, if something is kind of like over $15 and under maybe like $27, I'm not really like, oh, this one was, 17 and this one was 21. I'm just kind of like, oh, it was a middle priced meal. Right. And that's the feedback we've gotten from all our customers. Like, look, sure, if you can get your prices down over time, please do. But I'm willing to spend an extra $3, $4, $5 to eat something that, I leave. The biggest review we always get, and it makes me just like literally so happy, is, friends, and we'll get fan DMs where they'll be like, oh my God, I just drove on the way home and I realized like I wasn't bloated. Like, I never realized how, just bloated and blah you feel after eating out. Again, whether it's a nice sushi restaurant or, a cheap burger place, people forget. And anyway,
I thought with the lead up, Graham, it was going to be like $40 a meal.
Oh, dude, this is incredible.
Like $18, dude. Like, a Big Mac at McDonald's, like a Big Mac meal is
Yeah.
going to cost me that now.
Yeah.
And I think
Inflation's killing everyone. You're keeping the prices real tight.
Yeah.
right. We're doing our best. Now I think, you know, things will get more stable, will get better as we get bigger and have, you know, more pricing power, et cetera. I think, you know, it may be good to kind of give everybody like a lay of the land, right? With this pricing thing, because, you know, I was telling Damo before this as well, the current lay of the land, I feel is like you're going to have kind of the current grifters, and I don't want to hate too much. Again, props to Steak and Shake for leaning in as hard as they could. I do think they're trying to, you know, tallow bait, as you guys have coined, and, you know, get the extra business from slapping it on their menu, but it's a step in the right direction. You're going to get chains like that. You're going to get burger joints. There's a few out there that Seed Oil Scout has promoted who do it the right way, you know, grass-fed burger patty, and, you know, fully 100% tallow French fries. You're going to see a few of those chains popping up here and there, because burger restaurants are a pretty easy one to implement this in. And then besides us, you have the kind of upper end, the True Food Kitchens, right? That's one brand I really admire. I actually haven't been myself because we don't have one up in Sacramento, but it looks like they're doing it the right way. They're not to art scale with, you know, no plastic cutting boards and, you know, no plastic in the marinades or storage boxes, but, you know, it's real ingredients. It's really 100% seed oil free. But you're paying for it, right? It's a sit down, you know, full service, casual dining experience. You know, the menu prices are probably going to be in the $30 range and up. So we're really trying to fill that middle void, right? The Chipotle, Sweet Green, Kava kind of realm where, you know, you can use it for a variety of occasions, right? You can go out to lunch with your mom who's visiting on the weekend, or, you know, you can grab a quick work lunch, whatever you need. So that's kind of.
Can you tell us a little bit about your expansion plans? Because it sounds like you're about to go national, and that's blowing my mind. Can you tell us about the future of Tallow Grill? Because I can't wait for this to be everywhere.
We're trying. To answer your question, that's been the most frustrating part, because we get all these DMs of like, you know, come to Miami, come to Austin, come to Charleston, come to New York, and restaurants, you know, there is a timeline. You can only expand so fast, right? It's not software. So that being said, we do have a very aggressive rollout plan. So we just announced our first location is opening in Venice Beach in West LA in April. So we're going to get open in like 4 to 5 weeks. Then right after that, we have one planned for Orange County in Costa Mesa. And so that's one we're really excited about. And then we are like already talking to landlords and trying to sign leases for Sacramento, North County, San Diego, Scottsdale, and Austin, Texas. And so
yeah, let's go, dude.
Yeah. That's where you're based?
That's where I'm at right now. And then I have to ask too, like, this is such a complicated space. And a lot of my early content was based in like shitting on people that basically took big money. But inevitably, in order to grow across the nation, in order to do this, you have to start working with big money. And we've all got to have grace for people like Graham, you know, working with big money. But I'm curious, Graham, have you felt like you've been approached by anyone that's been trying to like take it from you, that's been trying to sort of like, here's so much money, and like, because I'm trying to buy you out? Or do you feel like you haven't seen that in person yet?
You know, I haven't seen that in person. I feel like I've gotten more people with deep pockets snooping around to try and see if they can replicate this, which, you know, as a guy on his first kind of entrepreneurial journey, at first makes you like really nervous. And then you hop on Twitter and you realize like people sniff out the bullshit.
I got your back, bro. Just let me know who they are. I'll sniff them out.
I appreciate it. And it's like, you know, that gives me, besides, plug for Christ, that gives me the most comfort. It's just like people see the authenticity, and ultimately that's what we're building is trust. Right. And so to answer your question about the money, that's what's been really cool is our first round of investor base that we got to launch this. Our lead investor, his name's Vinny Lingham, big crypto guy. Kyle, I think you're familiar with him. And right now he's basically funding projects that, you know, in this Maha space that he just wants to see succeed. And he's been very helpful in trying to advise me to, stay true to the mission. He's there to support, when and as needed. And what's also cool is we got a bunch of influencers, athletes, some, Hollywood celebrities that live this lifestyle, that have come on board and are going to help grow it, get the word out. And, I don't think capital is going to be our issue. There's a lot of people that see, this is the future and this is a big space. And, we've hit on something here. I think the hardest part for us is going to be shifting through who's genuinely the right partner, right? Like who has the capital, which, is a limited pool to help you expand like very fast. But I think we're in a good place for that.
Yeah. Great answer, man.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right that it is the future, and I think that anyone with pockets right now sees that and would be dumb not to see that. And what really, coming from the restaurant industry, like I left the restaurant industry to get into this industry because the restaurant industry is so toxic and so corporate. And even at the nicest restaurants, just like we're talking about, you're still ordering from all these big suppliers that are giant corporate suppliers that are feeding us all poison. Even at the nice restaurants, the cooks have giant bottles of seed oil by the grills that they're just squirting all over the grills because you're just trying to slay the menu as fast as you can. It's just such a disconnected reality when your food is your medicine, like the thing that builds our bodies. And the industry that provides our food is inherently this giant corporate mechanism that has been so divorced from what it was originally, which is like craft and chefs and like art and feeding us like the good of this earth. It's really disheartening to be a part of that old system. And so I'm so excited because as you expand across the nation, as you start to scale this thing, what you start to be able to do is you start to be able to create incentives for the infrastructure behind the scenes for the suppliers like Whole Foods or Cisco to start to, or sorry, US Foods, not Whole Foods, just start to look at this need and say, oh, maybe we should start supplying French fries that are not pre-fried in canola oil. Maybe we should start supplying these higher quality products because once that infrastructure gets built, suddenly like America can change much more rapidly.
You're spot on. If I could, add a little color to that too, one perfect example is today we were looking how we could source our pineapple, our organic pineapple that goes on one of our dishes. And we looked for every supplier out there to look for organic pineapple that's not in syrups, that's in a glass jar. There was only one place we found in rural Australia, and they have like two in stock. And so, because ultimately I want to avoid using the BPA lined aluminum cans that these pineapples are in because the acidity.
Dude, you're next level.
I'm telling you, I'm almost too paranoid where it's hard for me to live in the real world. But the acidity will strip that BPA and the phthalates will strip it right out of the interior lining of the can. And so, obviously, sure, can we move forward with that? And it's still better than what's out there? Absolutely. It's not the end of the world, but we're already taking measures. We've got some unique ways we're going to get around that and avoid that. But hopefully, when we're 10, 20, 100, 1,000 locations, we'll be able to actually work with those suppliers, say, hey, we need you to make us an organic pineapple that's in glass. Here's a purchase order for, 2 million pounds of this, right? And have that sway, but it's hard. And so by the way, are we as good as we're going to be? Not at all. Like I said, there's those things like the canned pineapple that, it's going to take us time to try and, get that out of the system. But, I just share that as an example to the listener. It is, and you said it earlier, the chef is so separated from what their true purpose should be. It's just like the doctors. They're so separated from what healing and medicine should actually be, right? And it's like, shouldn't the chef, who should be an expert on food, have an idea of, what goes along with that, and what food nourishes and what food doesn't, and how not to taint food with chemicals? But they don't. It's just like, shouldn't a doctor know how to fix your diabetes without, putting you on statins is or whatever it is, they throw you on. That's high blood pressure, I think, for statins or high cholesterol. But you know what I mean? It's the same conundrum.
I mean, I want to point out too, while you're talking about this disconnect, that you're a CEO of a restaurant, and we were talking about Chipotle earlier, and we just asked the CEO of a restaurant a question about the sourcing of food, and Graham just was like, yeah, literally just yesterday I was like looking at the pineapple sourcing, and he's like can go deep on all these pieces because Graham is directly connected to his restaurants and directly connected to his process. If you ask the CEO of Chipotle about his sourcing, all he could tell you about is his $94 million bonus that he got last year on the backs of all of his workers, because he's getting that 20% profit margin that he's just scalping so he can buy a jet. And so there's like this other element where it's not just the chefs that are disconnected, it's the people running the businesses that are disconnected from what they're supposed to be doing. And so I just wanted to highlight how dope it is that Graham has the knowledge and capacity to be running this thing like from the ground up and have the intimate connection to all the parts of this thing so that he can actually answer these questions like accurately. Because most restaurants, even the owner of the restaurant, let alone a CEO of like a giant company that has multiple restaurants, most of them have no effing clue what is in their products and how it's being made and where it's being sourced.
Yeah, and I want to kind of just add on this too, in piggybacking on the notion that what you're doing is, again, the kind of the vanguard of the Maha movement, and an example like that. A lot of this energy and focus can come in to support you, but also just like telling the stories, because I think a lot of people in their own journeys want to be more health conscious. And, there might be some people that are thinking, hold on, plastic cutting boards, like I shouldn't be using a plastic cutting board. And so like,
you're going to die, Kyle. It's going to kill you.
No, but it's like,
wake up.
So plastic cutting boards are no, instead what, wood cutting boards?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just go take your knife. Anyone who's in their kitchen, go to your kitchen, take your knife out and just run it across your plastic cutting board and look at the little line of plastic that's on either edge of that cut. Chefs aren't worried about that. They're just cutting as fast as they freaking can. They're just like, prep this food as quickly as possible.
All right. So now then containers, so plastic containers, when I've had like, I remember having some plastic containers that we had like our flour in at my cottage, and over years, like they would get dirty, but then they would also start smelling too. So plastic containers down. What's better?
Plastic containers are down. Stainless steel, glass, those are your two best bets. I would say that, for the at-home person, if you are going to use a plastic container, the two things with plastic you have to watch out for are heat and acidity. So no heating of your plastic. No, and I'm pretty sure I need to dive a little deeper on this, but the freezing of plastic too is not ideal, but it's not, I don't think it leaches as much as heating, but it's heat and acidity. So, acidity though isn't just, fruit juices, tomato juice, right? It's anything that you pack in there for the most part. And so a lot of people marinate their meats in plastic containers. It's not good. And I think, people think they see this very rigid, durable, hard plastic container, and they think, oh, sure, maybe a plastic bag will leach, but not this big sturdy piece of plastic. Unfortunately, that's not how it works, right? It's that surface level it's pulling from it and leaching those phthalates, which will eventually become, they're endocrine disruptors. So they mess up your hormone system. And so and this is coming from a guy when I was a kid, God bless you, Mom. My parents did the best. They're the bomb. But, I was microwavable burritos in a Tupperware thing, in a Tupperware.
Oh, yeah. Right in the bag. Just open the bag, stick it in there, 45 seconds, flip it, 45 seconds, slip it out. It's hot. It's juicy. It's ready to go. It's full of plastics though. So we're learning those. Now what about frying pans? What's the best kind of frying pan? Obviously not a plastic frying pan.
Good question. So I'll tell you about the kind of creme de la creme that I have at my house, but the most basic ones are cast iron and stainless steel. Those are the two. Now you'll see brands like Caraway and stuff who advertise a non-toxic pan. The nerds out there will tell you it's it's not truly non-toxic, especially as it starts to wear and chip over time. I don't want to get in a lawsuit battle over them. They have their studies.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Thank you. I would say stick to the tried and true cast iron, stainless steel. The thing about stainless steel is that you do have to pay attention. Every stainless steel pan out there, except for the one I have, is layered stainless steel, aluminum, stainless steel, aluminum, stainless steel. And the idea is that it actually makes the pan lighter. It functions better. It distributes the heat more evenly. But the problem is if it starts to wear over time, which stainless steel will, it'll scrape. There's this thing called salt pitting where the salt like kind of embeds itself in the stainless steel and wears it down. It'll start to expose that aluminum core over time. Now, is it a good start? Yes. If you want to really dole out a lot of money, and I've been trying to get like a collab with this company, there's a company called Solid Technics. And I think it's Technics. It's like TEKNICS. Lead Safe Mama had put it out there a while ago. It is a one solid cast piece of stainless steel. And so this thing, they give like a 200-year warranty on it. You could literally pass it down as an heirloom because, a nuclear bomb couldn't touch it. It is so durable, but it's 100% stainless steel. So that's what I use at my house, but they are like, the pan I had, I think was like, $300 something for one.
Yeah, they have a pan that's $700 on their website. That's wild.
They're
not all $700.
And you can just even at Walmart, like you can get a cast iron like solid pot for a pan for $20.
Yeah,
it's time to get to toss all, especially that scratch Teflon. Like just go to throw it in the garbage right away.
I've been traveling and living out of Airbnbs, and for a while I was like realizing I'm not going to be cooking in my Airbnbs. They always are stocked with nonstick pans. But after I'm eating out all the time because of that, I'm realizing that dude, I got to start cooking steaks again. I got to get back to the steak. This is killing me. So I just went to Goodwill, and I literally told my friend hey, you want to go to Goodwill? I'm going to get a cast iron pan before we go out to this movie thing. And the very first Goodwill I walked into, you can't always find them, but I found a nice, perfect little cast iron at a Goodwill for like $5. And it happened to be like in relatively good condition, but these things are floating around because the good stuff lasts, and people toss them out.
But cast iron, it's iron, right? So it does also leach into food. So I've heard that if you're doing like broths, for example, I don't know,
you wouldn't want to do anything like water based in a cast iron. No.
Or acidic, like a tomato soup would be like the worst enemy of a cast iron.
Right. Traditionally that would have been like my mother would cook in like a ceramic pot. Like what about ceramic pots? We like ceramic pots. We don't like ceramic pots. What do you think, Graham?
What I would say, what I would say is overall you're fine. You're fine with it. Like the Le Creuset, is big popular. We have them at my house. Occasionally we'll bake something in it in the oven. I'd say you're fine. Again, I like to live my life like, the 80-20 rule, right? Where's the majority of your cooking being done? For me, the majority of my cooking is being done in that pan. So make sure that pan is the safest thing. Whatever you use day in and day out, make sure that is, the highest quality. So make sure that's stainless steel or cast iron,
A little copper. Like copper pots?
I don't know much about copper.
Either.
Yeah, I don't know much about copper. So
I've known some chefs that are super hyped on copper, but I don't personally know why or what.
Yeah, I know they're what is it? I'm trying to go back to high school chemistry, but they're super interesting with how they distribute temperature. And so I don't know how they work. I don't know the toxicity of copper. I can't give guidance on that, unfortunately.
The easiest thing to do is to not even buy pans. Just throw all your pans out and then just move to Sacramento and just eat all your meals at Tallow Grill.
There you go. Well, Venice Beach now. Sacramento in the future.
And what about microwaves?
So microwaves, I've been, I would say this. I think they're fine. I would say they have like a certain recommended or allowable distance that they can have EMFs. travel outside of their Faraday cage protection on the microwaves. So one thing I would say is when you're running a microwave, don't put your face up to it. That's the first thing.
Or anything else up to it.
Yeah, or anything else. Exactly. I would say the second thing is the actual nutrition of the food. The jury's still out. There's some people that have cited, and this would actually be a good, Ian, if anybody can get to the bottom of this, it's you. I heard something about when they tested microwaving meals for the U.S. military, like, World War I, World War II, or whenever the microwave was invented. And they were saying like basically people were getting sick because it basically zaps all nutrition from the food. Now, I've also seen studies that say because the microwave cooks, for instance, vegetables, which, I'm not the biggest fan of vegetables, but it cooks vegetables so fast that it actually allows them to retain more of their nutrients. I don't know. I would say I wouldn't rely on it for 80% of my cooking. Let's put it that way. Don't do the majority of your cooking in a microwave. If you need to reheat something and it needs like steaming, first off, if you've got a lot of money, you can go buy a steamer, like a steam kind of mini convection oven, or put it in a pot, put the lid on, splash some water in there, and reheat it that way.
In your stainless steel pot.
In your stainless steel pot. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, I feel like we've those, like, I really wanted to kind of just nail into some of these general health conscious things for at home. So plastic out, not good. Don't use it. Plastic knives. What about knives? Any importance there?
Just not plastic. I don't think there's really, most of them are a,
What about silver? Like, one of the things that I love in my house is silverware. Like I like forks and knives as silver is great, and spoons, silver.
This is something that actually, like, it's this world of like something gets ruined every week for me. As you just, it's toxic. It's kind of like Ian with the conspiracies. I feel like oh, I gotta hate this too. And silverware is something. Say what?
Don't hate on silver.
I know.
Only bring it, Graham. I'm ready.
The question is, right, what is the silverware like actually made of? And I was starting to see some things that, a lot of them are actually, have a lot of like lead contamination in them, right? They're these mix of heavy metals that you're using to cut your foods. Now, am I throwing out my silverware? We own a nice thing of like Pottery Barn silverware. I'm trusting it for now. I haven't dove deep enough on it yet to throw out my silverware.
Well, I mean, you can tell with your silverware just based on how it reacts and how it looks and how it ages, and like whether or not it's kind of real or not. But I will also say, yes, we had a pot that we thought was silver, but guess what? My wife got lead poisoning as a result from drinking teas out of it.
Oh, no way.
Because, again, it's you don't necessarily know. So I guess it's that's why if we were talking about like silverware itself, if what it was made out of was, like you said, a pot, I'd be a lot more concerned. But the fact that, you're just using it to kind of cut your food, poke it, and it's minimal contact. So I would say it's probably, my personal take is like, it's maybe not the worst thing out there. But maybe we need to tell Caraway to come up with a, non-toxic tested silverware.
Just don't microwave your silverware.
Yes. Your microwave will hate you if you do.
Yeah, official Maha advice right there.
That's right. I love it.
These conversations never fail to make me feel like a freaking toddler. What are you guys talking about? Like, pot has like different kinds?
You don't even have to worry about it, man.
This is a good one.
Come dine at Tallow.
Cooking utensils,
dude.
So silicone is for the most part good. There are different grades of silicone though. Platinum grade silicone, which Stasher Bags makes a platinum grade silicone, that's going to have basically no potential leaching of harmful compounds. The base silicones can have some that are emitted or leached out when they're heated. it varies. It varies based on the manufacturer and how quality their silicone is. But if you look for platinum rated silicone, that's kind of the buzzword you want to hear for silicone.
All right. This is a really hilarious comment from Damo. If you drop your phone in water, you can microwave it to dry it quick. What? I want to try that right now.
Only if you put your face right by the microwave and stare at it intently. You got to get the timing just right.
Oh my gosh.
It goes fast.
Not advised.
Silverware in there with it, Damo, FYI. Electric tinfoil.
Well, Graham, this was fascinating, man. Thank you for coming on, and I can't wait to try Tallow Grill.
Dude, yeah.
Like,
oh, hey,
seriously, amazing work, and I hope people take it like his leadership. I think the interesting thing at Maha, again, as the token least healthy person on the panel. I don't know about Jessica. She might be on my level. We're not sure yet. Right? But
I think Jessica's healthier than you, Dustin.
No, my favorite is like every time I smoke, people in the comments get triggered. Like, and like it makes me want, like the troll in me makes me want to smoke more. Right? Just because I find it so funny to trigger people that way. But like what I really find helpful is that I actually have gone down the rabbit hole of like pots and pans and buy really good stuff, stainless steel, for exactly the same reason, because you can always find ways to improve. And what I found really interesting about your remarks, Graham, is on almost every single thing, like it's a journey to find what the actual healthy option is. And I love that you shared that with us and with everybody listening. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Of course. And
I was going to say, before we let you go, is there any last shout outs and where can people follow you?
Yeah, for sure. So Instagram is where we're most active, most seen, at Tallow Grill, and Twitter as well. We're trying to grow our audience on the X, and yeah, we're going to be opening in Venice Beach this April, and we've got some really cool plans for that. The grand opening is we're honestly trying to make it like the largest grand opening in LA history, and I think we have a chance to do that with some of the influencers we have on board. So it's going to be fun. And yeah, I would just say, stay tuned, come on out, experience it for yourself, experience how the food makes you feel, pay attention to how you feel after you eat our food. And, that's why people, when we were open up here in Sacramento, they kept coming back literally every night. I would see the same people. So I appreciate you guys having me on. And when we're getting ready to launch Austin, maybe your podcast headquarters will have to find a home at Tallow Grill.
Let's go, dude. I'll be there every day, dude.
Hell yeah. I appreciate it, guys. Well, hey, thanks. Let's stay in touch. And
Jessica, anything to add before you want to say anything to Graham?
No, thank you. I'm gonna get all new pots. My kids were listening too.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'm sorry for that new cost, but it'll be worth it. But hey,
I'm sure Jessica would love to be at the opening in Venice as well. If that lines up too.
Yes. Let me know if you send me the info. We'll come.
Perfect. I'll send it over to you guys. And anytime you need some input on anything health related, let me know.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
All righty. Thanks, guys.
Graham.
What a night, guys. What a great night.
What a great night.
So wait, Ian, so before we close, I do have some like housekeeping. What happened to Boston?
Without getting into too much detail, I was throwing an event in Boston that was going to be like bring all the free thinkers into one room. And then I went on this like big podcast with this comedian guy. And we had a great time, but people seemed to get really up in arms about it and started calling everybody names. And realistically, they started directly targeting specifically the families that owned the venue that we were hosting our event at. None of the messages came to us. None of the messages came into my inbox. They went straight to the families of the venue. And there was, let's just say, some unsavory things that were said and threatened and such. And so the families naturally were very concerned and wanted to back out because they're a new business, they're a family-owned business, and they are in Boston, which, you know, has certain persuasions there. And so no blame or shame to them. Horrible thing that happened to them. Sorry for it in all ways around. But it was a great opportunity because what it made is that it brought a lot of attention to the issues, so to speak. And it also gave us the opportunity to reach out and to look around for where might be a better place to host it. And we've got an absolute mountain of leads. And I think we're going to bring it to Austin, but we're not. We're waiting for a week and letting all the kind of inquiries come in. And I've got a couple of meetings set up this week with different people that have a bunch of venues around here. And we're probably going to push it back into the fall so that it can be a little cooler, and that way we can make it even bigger and better. So I'm freaking stoked. It's a little more work because we got to kind of retool from the ground up in a new venue, but it's going to be a party. So
appreciate the updates. Whoever shut it down, you people suck.
Yeah, hatred is a heck of a drug, and the hatred spreads like wildfire on the internet. So yeah, we're trying to get a bunch of happy and cool people into a room together to be happy and cool together, and some people just can't stand that. So that makes me just want to do it even harder.
Oh, man, bro.
I think you guys should come west to Laguna Beach and hang out in the office, all of us, at some point.
That would be a party.
I think we should do a conspiracy marathon and have everyone at the round table. So, Kyle, I'm going to text you later to set it. I had this this idea in the hour. So
I'm already heading over that way in a couple months.
Are you? Yeah, when, Ian?
I think it's in June. There's a wedding over there of an old friend I got to go to. So
in the West Coast?
Yep. Yeah, in California. So we'll get in touch. We'll do
it. We'll get in touch.
That'll be a party.
I have a good idea.
Most of your ideas are good ideas, Jessica.
Well, guys, I mean, I feel like another great really
Dude, America's healthy again, guys. We just made America healthy again. Do you feel it?
I feel it.
Let's go, dude.
I think we impacted at least a couple of people. I mean, I know I feel stronger after that conversation. And yeah, you know, just again, I'm gonna give quick shout outs on the last. If anybody likes this hat, you can get it from clubmaha.com. We've also got a nice shirt that says Make America Healthy Again and a hoodie that says Make America Healthy Again. I love wearing this hat. I've been wearing this while I've been skiing for the last couple of weeks out here. And man, people just like, it's an instant kind of attention grabber. This is a statement that, depending on either side, like, you know, it seems to really just generate positive reactions. If you're interested in a cyber car, beware. Someone drew swastikas on mine today. It was really dirty, and they just made them. I was like, ha, got you. Like,
that'll teach him.
What's Bitcoin? Anyways. But yeah, clubmaha.com. Use the code MAHA25, get 25% off, friends. So yeah, you know, cook that up, pick up some Maha gear, support this. If anybody wants to, like what we did with Graham highlighting the business, reach out if you've got a great story you want to that's in the Maha narrative. info@clubmaha.com. We'll be back here every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And someone was also asking about when's the space going to be. So stay tuned. We'll be announcing, an upcoming space at some point to try and just create a lively discussion, hopefully really topically oriented, because this Maha umbrella, it covers a bunch of different things, from the medicine to the food to the environment to the air to the soil. There's a lot to discuss, and we can't cover it all on here. Plus, we don't represent the full kind of scope of this. One of the things that we can help do is facilitate containers to bring together experts to have forward solution-oriented discussions to Maha, to make America healthy again, and to Mega, to make Earth great again. So let's go, let's grow. Thank you, Ian.
I actually might throw up a space when we I'll probably give myself a little break, but like 20 minutes after we close down, I might fire one up. Kevin, there's some things I want to chat about.
Maha.com. You got to follow the host, Dustin, Kyle, Jessica, myself. You got to follow so that when these pop-up spaces happen, you're there.
You turn those notifications on, like, mad points for being the first to comment, reply, like tweets, and all that jazz too.
Don't put me on notifications. You will be flooded with all kinds of retarded stuff. Just fair warning.
Free speech, baby.
The sun on the field, the feeling I feel when I'm living my life for what's real. Make America healthy, feeling like it's time for a change. We're going back to common sense, making America healthy again. We're going back to common sense, making America healthy again. We're going back up healthy again.